So this chapter of Boruto wasn't too crazy, really just got some world building and some character development pretty much. It was a chapter to kind of cover the next mission, which is going to the hidden sand and intercepting these two Shinju. Matsuri and I believe Ryu is the name. And lately the chapters for Boruto Two Blue Vortex have been kind of good, kind of, okay, sort of in the middle sometimes. And this chapter I think is just like an okay chapter, nothing too crazy. And I did feel like some of the pacing in this chapter was a little slow. I think a lot of information, especially this conversation with Shikamaru and Konohamaru, went on for way too long, but everything else in this chapter was pretty okay with me. The way this chapter really started was just kind of like going back to the events with Sumire and Sarada, which is an interesting thing because they seem to really be focusing on this relationship between Sarada and Sumire and Boruto and this sort of like love triangle. And it's really interesting because they're trying to make this like a thing to where this is going to be like some kind of conflict in the future. And I just don't know if it's interesting or if there's enough build up to make this, entertaining for me or even invested in it at all. I feel like in Boruto before the time skip, I don't think any of this stuff was really even brought up as much as it is now. So I think they just need to flesh it out a little bit more for it to be a lot more interesting for me. And we'll kind of see where it goes. But that's going to be a major talking point kind of going forward in some of these chapters. So kind of pay attention to that. But they're kind of doing some reconnaissance on the two Shinjus. And they notice the frog. They're kind of talking about the frog on the ground. And apparently Matsuri can hear the trees, and I think she's talking about sort of like the 10-tail clones that are kind of just around the earth and kind of deep within the planet. So I think she can kind of hear them, and they are sort of like tiny little spies in a sense, kind of like Zetsu almost. Konohamaru and the team kind of take an interesting approach to this, right? Because she's a sensory ninja, so they're like, hey yo, we should just pull up to her and just start a conversation, right? And if you kind of go further in the chapter, there's Shikamaru and Konohamaru talking for, like I said, a really long time. But this is the part where we're kind of getting that character development, sort of world building going on, and really just telling Konohamaru that you are Matsuri's target, and that's because she actually has a crush on you. So the thing with these Shinju is that they are sort of like a blank slate. Think of like a newborn person, right? They are sort of discovering the world for the first time. They're not necessarily evil, they're not necessarily good. I would argue that all the Shinju are not good or evil besides that bug Shinju, because that bug Shinju has something going on with him, but everybody else is pretty a-okay. I say the Sasuke Shinju is conflicted, and that's the only one where I don't really know, but the rest of the Shinju seem okay. Juro seems like he's kind of chilling, wants to learn more stuff, but the bug Shinju is the only one that kind of creeps me out, and everybody else seems like they're just pretty much a blank slate. So the plan here is to sort of get their trust and then betray them, right? Something very Shikamaru-esque, which is like a little messed up, that they're going to make these Shinju sort of trust them and then at some point stab them in the back, kill them, and try to revive their teammates, which I kind of understand the plan. It almost makes you feel bad for the Shinju when, in the story's perspective, these are supposed to be the villains, but if you think about it in a different lens, these are just beings that got created, don't really know where they came from, or just like learning the world. So I kind of understand, both points of how, the Shinju feel and how, the Leaf feels. But, Konohamaru and them sort of team up, and now they're sort of looking for the person of interest, which is Boruto. So they're looking for Boruto, and it kind of goes back to another flashback, a lot of flashbacks here, where they're talking about the thorn bulb and how the thorn bulb, if you bring it back to the divine tree, then you can restore the person that was trapped in it. So that's pretty much the goal here, is to kill them and to restore the thorn bulb so that way they can revive their teammate. And you can kind of see this go into effect with Shikamaru's plan, because Matsuri gets very bothered. I mean, she's hiding behind Ryu, has no idea what to say. Words are not computing in this person's head. She can't say anything. English is not a concept to her, and she's pretty much just shy. So Shikamaru has this plan to sort of, split them up, right? So you should kind of split them up, divide and conquer, which is a good plan, right? Making sure that they are not, together and can't really ruin the plan. Them being together being the Shinju, by the way. So what happens is they split up into groups. Sarada and Mitsuki split up into one group with Ryu, and Konohamaru splits up with Matsuri. And very interesting thing about the conversation between Ryu and Sarada and Mitsuki, he actually says that Juro has a lot of respect for the Leaf Shinobi, which is very interesting. Granted, what he just did to Leaf Shinobi a couple of chapters ago, but he has a lot of respect for them. This is kind of why he's going into town and learning more about whatever he's learning about and just really trying to embrace himself in the Leaf's culture. And I really like that these villains, they're not one-dimensional. They're not just blow stuff up and move about their day. They're blank slates that are sort of forming into their own personalities, and I really like that a lot. And it's funny because Ryu was actually going to be on more of the offensive end until he met these two ninjas and was kind of letting his guard down. So seems like the plan is sort of working in that sense. But Konohamaru and Matsuri are sort of on the sidelines, and he's kind of talking to her, asking her how she's doing and whatnot. So I think next chapter, around sort of beginning, we're gonna see Konohamaru try to take Matsuri down. And if that goes badly, we could possibly see Jura pop up. And the reason why I say that is because of this next panel, and it is Boruto and Kashin Koji talking. And Kashin Koji saying, it's going well so far. Everything seems to be fine. They separated them, so it looks like we're doing good. And Boruto's like, you know, what's the chances this goes wrong? What's the percentage? Doesn't really give him an answer, right? He kind of like gives them a politician answer, kind of doesn't give any sort of factor thing to make Boruto seem confident. What he's saying in this is that Boruto, you cannot leave no matter what happens. If you leave this cave and you go help your friends, Juro will pop up and Juro will kill you, and then you will pretty much be lost and the whole entire world is over. So no matter what happens, Boruto has to stay here, and I feel like they're setting up for somebody to die here, and I think it's going to be Konohamaru. Just given how important Mitsuki and Sarada are to the story, Konohamaru is the one character here where I can see them possibly taking him out. But the thing with Boruto Two Blue Vortex and you know, just Boruto in general, they don't kill characters. Naruto didn't die. Sasuke didn't die. All these characters didn't die. Even Inojin didn't die either. So they're very like cautious about killing characters off. So let's see if somebody actually dies in this or gets injured, but I highly doubt it. Going back to sort of the end of the chapter, we see Juro, where I mentioned before, Juro is really interested in Leaf's culture, actually going to the library like they said, and Shikamaru told the Hidden Leaf Village, if you see him in town, just leave him alone and let him buy books. And I don't know who he robbed before he got to the Hidden Leaf Village, but he pulls out a fat stack of cash and is like, this is my deposit. Whenever I come to get books, I already paid for it. So he put down a deposit on some books. I don't know what's going on with Juro, but he has definitely been one of the more interesting villains in Boruto. Like him and I'd say Amato are probably the two most interesting villains. And I just think it's really funny how they're sort of like giving him some like daily activities, like going to grab books and stuff like that. So very funny. But kind of ending off the chapter, it was with Kawaki and Amato, and Kawaki sneaks up on Amato and he's like, hey man, I need my powers, I need my full powers, because Boruto actually informed them that he's being restricted. So we might get a confrontation finally between Amato and Kawaki, and we'll finally see how Amato sort of wiggles his way out of this one. But hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.